Welcome to the Meta Podcast, boys. Everyone, welcome. So we'll be talking about things that does not matter, but that do matter. We'll be talking about important things in our life. That does it really matter, or does it really matter? So we'll be talking about a lot of things that does really matter, but does not really matter. So our podcast name, it's not a podcast. We'll be calling it Meta Podcast. That's what you're calling it. So we'll be talking about different topics today. So generally we'll be talking about politics, philosophy, art, anything we can talk about. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So today's topic is going to be historical materialism. So that's what we're going to talk about, historical materialism. A lot of people doesn't know about it, what it is, what we're going to talk about, what is materialism, what is historical materialism. So historical materialism can be found in the book to the contribution to the critique of political economy. It's a book written by Marx and Engels. You can find it on Amazon. It's there for like around $2,000. And there are a lot of important topics are being talked about, such as dialectical materialism and historical materialism. So today we'll be talking about historical materialism. How does it impact our life? How does it impact our contemporary society? And is it relevant today or not? Because historical materialism was written a long time back ago. So I will be talking about Marx's idea, like what is historical materialism about. So Marx's general idea about society are known as his theory of historical materialism. Materialism is the basis of sociological thought, because for Marx, materialism or economic factors affect the structure and development of society. So you can say that his theory that material conditions essentially compromise of technological means of production. Human society is formed by the forces of different relations and relations of production. So his theory of historical materialism is historical because Marx has traced the evolution of human societies from one stage to another. It is called materialistic because Marx has interpreted the evolution of societies in terms of material or economic basis. So what is materialism? Materialism simply means that is a matter or a material reality, which is the basis of any change. Now we'll talk about materialism means the materialistic structure of society. It is how the superstructure is composed of. Now, when you read the book, which is the contribution to the critique of political economy, you'll find a lot of things, right? He'll talk about superstructure, but what superstructure actually means. So superstructure of any society means like the art, the culture, the religion, the social institutions and the religious institutions. So that compromises of the superstructure. So I will be using the word superstructure a lot. So that's what it means. So our society, our materialistic society is based upon economic infrastructure. That's what Marx means. It's based upon very much on the economic infrastructure. Marx's theory of historical materialism is the materialistic interpretation of the history of societies. All these societies have experienced a similar of history, and every history is built upon its materialistic foundations. So you can, he has tried that, all society kind of passes through an unilinear evolution. So every society progresses stage by stage, and every society has marched ahead. He has suggested about history of society. Like for him, like his concept of materialistic is on very Eurocentric. So from him, the evolution of the society is like this. You have to start with primitive communism, then you have slavery, and then you have feudalism, then you have capitalism, and then you have socialism, and then you have the form of the ultimate communism. Now today I'm not gonna discuss about what primitive communism is or what feudalism. I think everybody knows about it. But his idea of from primitive communism to communism, it's very Eurocentric. Even I have seen that because he has kind of surveyed and a demographic chart of Eurocentric. It's not for Asia, it's not for Australia, it's not for different content. It's only for Eurocentric. So let's do a basic assumption. Like what is historical materialism? Historical materialism is based upon a philosophy of human history. But you have to keep in mind, it's not strictly speaking of philosophy of history. We can understood as a sociology theory of human progress. So we can take historical materialism as a sociological theory of human progress. As a theory, it provides scientific and systematic research program for empirical investigations. At the same time, it also claims to contain within it a revolutionary program of intervention into society. It is a unique combination of scientific and revolutionary characters, which is the hallmark of Marx's original formulation. So today we'll be talking about three important things. The three things we got to remember for historical materialism. That is, society as in an interrelated as whole, changeable nature of society, human nature, and social relationships. So let's talk about the first point. What do Marx mean by society as interrelated as wholes? So Marx has viewed human society as interrelated as whole. The social groups, the institutions, the beliefs, and the doctrines within are integrally related. That's how a society works. So therefore, he has studied their interrelations rather than treating them separately. Next, we have the Marx view society as inherently mutable. That's the next thing you're talking about, the changeable nature of society. He talks about how the society is inherently mutable and in which changes are produced largely by internal contradictions and conflicts, such as changes, if observed in a large number of instances, according to Marx, it can show a degree of regularity to allow the formulation of general statements about their causes and consequences. So you got both these assumptions, they kind of relate to the nature of human society. Next, we have the third part, which is very important, which is the human nature and social relationships. So there is one basic assumption that behind historical materialism, without which the theory cannot be held together. This relates to the concepts of man in general. So according to Marx, there is no permanent or persistence of human nature. Human nature is neither originally evil nor they are good. So it's like the human are more potential, original in potential. So human nature is what human beings make history with. Then at the same time, it is human nature which they make. And human nature is potentially revolutionary. So human will is not a passive reflection of events, but they contain the power to rebel against circumstances and the prevailing limitations of human nature. So it's not the people that produce out of material greed or the greed to accumulate wealth, but the act of producing the essentials of life, and people engages into social relationships that may be independent of their will. So in most of the human history, according to this Marx, the relationships are mostly class relationships that create class struggle. So these are the 3 points which all we have to keep in remember, that society as interrelated whole, changeable nature of the society, and human nature and human relationships, and how they create the so-called class stratifications, class relationship, and as well as the class struggle. So as we have kind of gone over to the historical materialism, what it is about, what does it do, is it important in today's society, is it relevant? I don't know. I mean, it has this different point of views, as Marx has said that it is a study, the interrelations rather than treating them separately. So this study you have to do a comprehensive and comprehensively study. You can't take it as in a separate way, in a point of view. It doesn't work like that. So next we move to the next part of our today's podcast, which is harmony. Now a lot of people has talked about soul, body, does it really matter? So in this today's topic we'll be talking about the soul and the harmony, right? So I'll be discussing about Plato's work, which is you can find it in Plato's Phaedos, where he talks about the soul and how the soul has worked upon, how the evolution is done. So let's think about, could the soul be a harmony of its elements? So let's take a guitar and a musical instrument. We have a musical instrument, and the so-called harmony is created by the so-called strings, the instrument, and the parts itself you can call it a soul. But if so when the body and the elements are kind of destroyed or undone, does the harmony goes away? Can we say there is no more soul? I don't think so. This analogy does not work. This analogy does not work is because I tell you why. It's because harmony cannot resist or order around, make something else do what it doesn't want to do when it comes to the strings, right? Like you cannot play a guitar just because a harmony tells you to do. You cannot you cannot do a rock genre, you cannot do a post-rock genre if you do not know how to play a guitar. Like the harmony cannot tell you to do the things. Harmony cannot tell you to play a music instrument. It cannot. So the same thing goes. So a soul, but what it actually happens to our body? The soul actually directs the body. Therefore, the soul cannot be harmony, because harmony don't direct things, because they are harmonies of. So can you think of, can a harmony be more or less of harmony? Yes, it can be. What is the opposite of harmony? Opposite of harmony is discord. Okay, so you can say a soul cannot be more or less of a soul. You cannot do that. You can say either it's a soul, either an object has a soul, or it does not. It's a more of a yes or no question. It cannot have less or more soul. Then we talk about a soul can have things in it such as virtues and vices or character traits. Let us ask ourselves, can virtues and vices be in harmonies? Yes. And can vices be a discord? Why not? Yes. So in a way you can say that a soul cannot be harmony, because however a soul can have harmonies and discords within it. So you have to keep in mind that a soul cannot be a harmony. However, a soul can have harmonies, which means it can have harmony, vices and discords with it. Then we have the big question, having versus being. Having versus being, that's the other philosophical thought. We're not gonna go there. But you have to keep in mind here that if harmony is what was standing in the way of the soul being immortal, because the conclusion is that the soul, while it contains the harmonies and discord, it's not a harmony, then the soul would be then immortal. Then the soul directs. You have to keep in mind that the soul directs and the harmony does not direct. So in that way you can say the soul is immortal, if the argument is if the soul is harmony or not, and harmony is not immortal. So this is my understanding of can a soul could the soul be a harmony and its elements? It's my proposition. Though as I say myself, I'm a comprehender. My thoughts are very banal. I comprehend things and I talk about it. That's what I do. Actually, you can find this thought about could the soul be in harmony and its elements? You can find it in Plato's work. It's known as Plato's Phaedo. It's a really good work, very interesting to learn about. That's what it's about. So you can learn a lot of things. So I think that's all for today. We've gone through two topics, which is the historical materialism, which I've talked about three different points, which is society as an interrelated as a whole, changeable nature in society, and human nature and social relationships. And then we have talked about, just to have scratch that part, is the soul immortal? So this is my take on is the soul immortal or not. So that's all for today, and we'll see you later. Have a good day.